It's August 1967. I just turned 14, and Jimi Hendrix's Are You Experienced has just cranked up the Summer of Love. At the time, I had little sense of who Jimi Hendrix was. I mean, I'd seen photos and heard the records, but it was not the persona that captivated me. The Stones, Eric Clapton, Jim Morrison, Ray Davies, and so many others somehow seemed personally relatable, accessible. You'd hear stories about them, read interviews. They were flesh and blood. But Jimmy was on another plane, above all that, a kind of a divine messenger delivering a new level of music. And unlike the others, I never considered what it would be like to meet him or go to his concert, which made one particular evening in Beverly Hills particularly surreal. So a friend's family lived in a big imposing mansion in sort of the old part of Beverly Hills, behind Beverly Hills Hotel, around the corner from Bergin, a town, not far from Falcon's Lair, which was Runa Valentino's mansion. The mansion that Hendrix rented for a few months in 1967. So the French consulate would host soirees in my friend's sprawling basement ballroom. And we would sneak in dressed as poshly as two 14-year-old girls could. We'd go, we'd sip champagne, and we'd smoke gauze. We were like two little hippies flirting with men in suits. And that night, though, entering the room, we spotted a reed-thin man, dressed in scarves and velvet, sprawled like a rag doll across the couch. Head drooped to one side, baby sweet, blissed in dreamland. Watching someone, especially a stranger, sleep, it's kind of awkward and voyeuristic, but odder still when it's Jimi Hendrix. So we assumed he was probably really stoned, but it could have been jet lag, who knows? So other guests politely ignored the fact that Jimi Hendrix was out cold in our midst, but I was fascinated. I wondered, what does Jimi Hendrix dream about? I was struck by his vulnerability. His quiet, so contrary to that volcanic guitar, those emphatic vocals that made him seem so much more than human. Breathing deeply, he was tenderly mortal right then. If we had a camera, we would have posed with Sleeping Jimmy. We joked about carrying him to the back seat of a car and driving around LA with him. But instead, we just watched. Perched on the edge of the couch, I felt entrusted to guard Jimi Hendrix and protect his privacy. Like in some ulterior dimension, I felt there was a bond of trust between us. So goes the self-importance fancy of adolescence. So we had to leave before he woke. And the next time I saw Jimi Hendrix, it was a foggy February night in 1968, when he played the Los Angeles Shrine Auditorium. Given the odd fortune of our previous time together, so to speak, I made believe that I had miraculously acquired an intuitive understanding of Jimmy. I thought I knew how he would jive with the audience, how he would clutch his guitar, how his voice would careen as he played. But my fantasies couldn't really stretch far enough to wrap around that sorcerer. He quickly seduced us into some rare cosmos where everything else slipped away, and he alone ruled. Like everyone else, on the spot, I surrendered to that magic. Then there was a moment, a mere instance when I was sure I alone caught a flicker of his eye, a spark of connection. Hey, I told you, adolescence, you know. Like somehow, amidst it all, Jimmy sensed a flash of familiarity from a distant sleepy haze on a couch in Beverly Hills. It took less than a second, but it ricocheted like lightning across the shrine. Earlier that day, I didn't quite grasp what the title "Are You Experienced?" meant to ask. And truth be told, I had never really considered it. But by the end of that show, back on Earth, in a transformed world, I had no doubt that I most certainly was. Thank you.